Hello artists! I hope that you are having an excellent day. And I don't know if any of you have noticed this, but I have noticed this. In some of my neighbors' windows, I have noticed there are hearts peeking out in different spots. So this week I want to show you some different ways to make hearts, from drawing them, to cutting them out, to doing some printmaking hearts, and also some origami hearts. I'm going to show you several ways to make hearts that you can share with your community. Maybe you have some sidewalk chalk and you want to go outside and create a beautiful heart happy mural to put on the sidewalk around your home or community. So let me give you a few ideas of some materials that I'm going to be using to show you how to create hearts. Some materials that I'm going to be using inside are a variety of paper and cardboard. So let me show you the things that I have gathered up so far. You don't need all of these, but these are just some ideas. So first of all, I grabbed a couple of empty boxes that I have been saving. I've been saving a lot of empty boxes because I knew they would come in handy for an art project. Especially this one, it's kind of pinkish, which a lot of hearts are pink, but I want to encourage you to make hearts of any color. Another thing that I like to use when we're talking about recycling is sometimes old art projects. I don't always have space to keep all of my art projects, so I can reuse old pieces of paper or old art projects, and I really like the colors that I have on here when I practice my monotype printing, so I can go ahead and use that to make hearts. I might even use this to create some hearts. I have a couple different notebooks here that I might use, just a plain sketchbook and then a lined notebook. Those could work. I have some junk mail that could also work. I could use it just as it is, or I could color it. I also have a piece of aluminum foil, which, talking about shiny hearts, this would be great. I'm thinking this could be really great in one of the windows in my house. I created some little origami hearts that I'm excited to show you using some scrap paper. And then I just have a variety of pieces of colored paper that I could also use. And when you cut these hearts out, then it makes a little frame. A couple of other items that I'm going to be using in some of my projects: scissors, and probably some sort of drawing utensil. So maybe a pencil, maybe a marker. The last thing that I am going to show you, this item that I have, is this. You might recognize it. I'm going to show you how to use this for printmaking hearts. Let's start off with learning how to draw a heart. I like to start at the top, and I make a big loop and come back to my center line and then do the same thing on the opposite side. Sometimes, to help me out, I draw 2 dots so that I keep things lined up and go up and around on either side. You can try to use different markers, different crayons. This is using the M technique. You draw an M on the top and then come back around. The more you practice, the better you will get. I'm going to draw one with my right hand because I know a lot of you are right-handed, so you're probably going to start with the right side of the heart first. And as you draw your hearts, think about drawing multiple, think about overlapping them, color in some different spaces. If you happen to be doing this with other media, like chalk or something, you can think about shading, blending your colors. And remember, hearts are symmetrical, so they're the same on either side. So I just drew a line down the middle so you can see that symmetry in the heart. Next, I'm going to show you how to cut a heart out of paper and how to make it symmetrical. You can sure draw hearts all day long on a paper and then cut them out, but let me show you a little trick. Take your paper and fold it in half. You can fold it in half either way. It's totally up to you. I am going to fold mine with the two long sides touching, and I make sure that the corners are lined up before I fold and crease. Now, this is the important part. You need to start with your marker or your pencil on the side with the crease and draw half of a heart. Make sure that it touches the crease. Then I'm going to take my scissors and, with my paper still folded, carefully cut out that shape that I have drawn. And go ahead and open it up. Voila! Symmetrical heart! And I also have a heart frame, kind of like I was showing you in the introduction. With this one, I drew another heart on it. So again, I'm starting on the side where the paper is folded, drawing that heart shape. Then I can go ahead and cut that out. Open it up, and I have another heart. And then I have my big heart outline as well. And here's something that I did with my purple heart outline. I took my leftover piece of aluminum foil and I glued it onto the back. So then when I flipped it over, I had some kind of shiny hearts. I glued it first and then I trimmed to make sure I had enough aluminum foil. Cut out a smaller orange heart to glue right in the middle. And then I colored in a little bit of that aluminum foil with a red marker. Now, the next way to make a heart is an origami heart. And I have some origami paper, but you can use a scrap of paper. In just a second, I'm going to show you how to make that scrap into a square. So we're going to start by carefully folding our paper so it has a plus sign on it. So we're folding the flat edge to the flat edge 2 times. Open it up. I'm going to put a little dot in the center just so you can see where those folds intersect. Now I'm going to start with the top corner and fold it down to that center dot. And then just opposite of that, I'm going to fold the bottom all the way up to the top of my paper, trying to keep it as centered as I can. And then make sure you really put a nice crease in that paper. That means to fold it so it's really crisp. I'm going to fold each side up and over so that it also comes to the middle of my paper and crease. And I'm going to do that on both sides. Just being really careful. I always kind of make sure that it's where I want it before I crease the paper. That way I don't have a bunch of crease lines all over my paper. After it's folded, you're going to flip it over and just fold in those top 4 sharp corners. It gives it a little bit more of a rounded look. You don't have to do this. I think for my preference, it looks nicer with those edges folded in. Now, this is how you make a square piece of paper. Out of any piece of paper, you're going to take the corner and you're going to fold it across until it lines up with the opposite side of the paper. As soon as it's lined up, taking my time, I'm going to crease my paper, and whatever's left over, I'm just going to cut it off. This might take a couple times for you to figure out how to make a square out of your paper, but you can do it. Rewind and watch it again if you need to. I like to practice with scratch paper first and then use my other paper. So I'm going to show you one more time. When you do this
you'll have a little crease from making your square, but that's okay. So fold both of the flat sides so they're touching, so you make a big plus sign on your paper. And I'm pressing down to get a nice crisp fold line. Now with the top pointing away, I'm going to bring it into that center and crease it, and then fold the bottom point all the way up to the top and crease it again. And remember, we're going to fold each of the sides into the center. And I'm double checking to make sure that it's at the center of my paper before I put the crease in. The first one is always the trickiest. The first side that you fold up, the second one is a little bit easier because you have something to match it up against. And then flip it over and fold those little tiny folds in around the edges and on the top. So we have more of a rounded appearance to our heart. And ta-da, an origami heart. I had made a few earlier. I want to show you one way you might consider hanging them up. I had some Christmas ribbon, and so I attached my hearts to the Christmas ribbon using some tape and a stapler. And you also might want to consider taking some glue and gluing down those little corner tabs that you've folded. It'll just help it stay together a little bit nicer. That made some heart garland. Now we're going to make a heart print out of a toilet paper tube. So I chopped it in half. Using the flat half, I just folded the top in and made the two little top loops of the heart. And you see that I trimmed off a little piece of my toilet paper tube that was kind of sticking out. I don't want that sticking out because if that gets paint on it, when I try to print it onto my paper, that's going to cause a little problem and I'm going to have that marking on my paper. So once you have it trimmed and once you have it in a heart shape that you like, we're ready to apply some paint. You can apply paint two ways. The first way I chose was to paint it on with a paintbrush and then stamp it down, and I press it evenly, kind of rock it around to make sure that the paint gets onto my paper. The second way you can apply paint is by putting a little bit onto, I'm just showing you on my sketchbook paper because then you can see it, but you could put it on another scratch piece of paper or a paint tray. Dip your heart printing toilet paper tube into it, and then you can start printing some hearts. You can use one color or you can use 15 colors. It's really up to you. You can make a pattern with the hearts. You could make an entire paper covered with printed hearts and then you could cut a heart out of it. The options are really endless. It's whatever your imagination can come up with. I also mentioned earlier when we were talking about spreading some encouragement, you might want to send a card. I'm going to make a mini card here. I folded a paper in half and put a little heart print on the front and added just a little bit of a marker outline around it and opened it up to write a nice little note inside. Sending you a lot of joy and love today. I might want to even put an extra origami heart in there for someone.
If you have another idea of how to create some hearts and share happiness and share encouragement in your community, please absolutely do that. You don't have to use these ideas that I give you. These are just some options because I know sometimes our brains just need a little bit of a kickstart when we get going here. So with that being said, I look forward to seeing what you create. Let's go spread some encouragement to the people around us.